And they were like, ma'am, your house is being surrounded by SWAT.
A hacker prompted a SWAT call to her home last week.
Someone had called claiming to be my husband.
I came home and saw my wife cheating on me.
And had murdered me.
Your wife in the head?
Yeah, like 8 times.
But it all turned out to be fake.
Someone came over the ring and started saying derogatory things.
Yo, what the
A disturbing trend.
In some cases, threatening to start shooting.
Caller allegedly stated he intended to shoot up school.
20-year-old James Thomas Andrew McCarty.
James McCarty.
20-year-old James McCarthy
Was arrested in Charlotte on Wednesday.
James Thomas Andrew McCarty, most prominently known as Aspertaine, developed a notorious reputation online for harassing thousands.
One of the most f***ed up things I've ever seen on the internet by far.
Had their guns pointed at us and they put us in handcuffs.
They were getting blackmailed with their nudes.
Aspertaine's notoriety grew rapidly on Minecraft HCF servers, a game mode he had total control over.
He said that if they ever banned him, he would leak, all the information.
The first words out of my mouth were, Aspertaine's at my house.
There's a long history of HCF players getting involved in criminal activity, most notably Graham Ivan Clark, or OpenHCF. Thousands of bomb threats were even sent to schools in the UK and attributed to a server I was partnered with. Aspertaine even bought staff on an HCF server, and the owners tried to lie to my face about it. I do know you've just lied to me, 100%.
What did I lie about?
Asper's reputation is even referenced in a song from a cyber gang he once had links to. And in other songs, well...
Aspertaine a fat boy, he needs some more cookies.
Aspertaine was also a prominent member of the Doxbin community, being granted the 4th highest rank on the site by the former owner, KT. This is going to be a crazy journey into the life of Aspertaine, and because ain't nobody got it like me.
Oh man, show him in the Fed, Tony.
Do I really regret it?
Before Aspertaine gained a reputation online and got involved with more serious forms of cybercrime, he followed a fairly common path among hackers. As early as 2017, you can find reports of Aspertaine hacking in-game, which may seem innocent enough, but the pipeline between Minecraft hacks to actual hacks is literally just one click away. On one server that Asper had been banned on dozens of times over the years, we can see this slow progression from general toxicity and doxing to pizza bombing and finally to swatting. Although during this time period, while Aspertaine was definitely seen as an annoyance, his threats really weren't taken too seriously. As time went on, however, Aspertaine most definitely began to get his hands on better methods and information that he could use against people online. We're going to be hearing from many victims of Aspertaine in this video, but the first story I'd like to share with you is about a young man named Bivy. Bivy was just a 13-year-old kid when, in late 2020, he began uploading Minecraft HCF videos on his YouTube channel. Now, not even 6 months later, Bivy uploaded his last video on his channel, announcing that he was quitting HCF for good.
And now you may be wondering, why Hypixel? Why not HCF? Maybe we'll come back to it, but probably not, just because of the community.
After Bivy had already attempted to move on to a new community, Aspertaine randomly added him to a group chat simply because he was friends with a YouTuber named Flesha. We'll be hearing directly from Flesha about his crazy history with Aspertaine in a second, but I want to first show you what happened in this group chat with Bivy. After Aspertaine had added Bivy, Flesha, and another YouTuber named Caster to the group, he immediately posted their addresses and began extorting them. Asper also added a girl named Lana to the group, who he interestingly refers to as Princess and Shorty. This is a little odd because Lana actually e-dated a close friend of Aspertaine's, a guy named Coding, who we'll hear a lot more about later. Asper then demanded Bivy write he and Lana's names on his face, which is a very common extortion tactic. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in contact with Bivy, but I spoke to Flesha about this night.
Yeah, they were essentially just threatening Bivy, telling him they were going to SWAT him, saying they were going to call a bomb threat to his school. Yeah, I mean, like, he scared Bivy shitless, because obviously Bivy's 13 years old.
Asper then sent a picture of a news article about a bomb threat in Oklahoma, a threat Asper himself was literally responsible for that we'll hear a lot more about later.
And he said, this is going to be yours and Flesha aim locks. And then after that, Aspertaine essentially just told him to give him his account. Bivy did.
Aspertaine then went on to publicly brag about stealing the account, and if this wasn't enough, he sadly then went on to swat Bivy, leading to him disappearing from the internet for good.
he just kind of disappeared from our little group. I'm pretty sure that's what was like really the nail in the coffin to him, was that he actually did get swatted.
As I mentioned, Bivy was targeted by Aspertaine simply for being friends with the YouTuber Flesha Aimlock, so obviously Aspertaine and Flesha must have had some super serious beef going on, right?
I asked him, I was like, why do you have beef with me? Like, I barely know who you are. And he was like, oh, I just don't like you because you got an ego. I think that it was just some like one-sided beef that he took really far.
Just like you're probably thinking right now, I thought that sounded crazy. He did all of that over some fake, one-sided beef about an ego. But after I began reviewing doxes posted by Aspertaine himself, I found that he regularly listed this exact reason as why he was doxing his victims. Because of Flesha's insane ego, Asper went on to swat him 3 times and even sent a bomb threat to his school.
Dude, it'd always be some crazy threats too. Like the cops would get there and they'd be like, oh, okay, well, because we heard that your son just now shot and killed his whole family and is gonna shoot the police if they show up.
After Flesha's school received a bomb threat from Aspertaine, his principal called his home furious and even cussed out his mom.
My principal was pissed about it and basically told me that I needed to stay home for a few days while they figured it out. And my principal was insane, dude. He was on the phone cursing my mom out because of this whole thing.
Asper targeted countless other HCF players in very similar ways, but not every attack from Asper was as severe.
So he swatted me, but he was like, it's a little friend swat, that's what he said. Like, not like necessarily like a major SWAT, like 10, 20 cops show up. He just called and said like some dumb stuff.
This person was swatted by both Aspertaine and various other people over 30 times.
There's this other address that's, I'm pretty sure, I'm not even joking, it's probably been swatted over like 30 times.
As opposed to Bivy, who was a completely innocent player, Bleck was at least honest about why they got targeted.
When I was younger, I was actually pretty toxic. I would talk back, I would join calls with people and argue with them. There was one where I called him ugly and fat and he had man titties, and he got mad and then he swatted me.
While this obviously doesn't make what Aspertaine did justifiable, it does give you some context that not everyone was completely innocent. Another player named Gaza, who Aspertaine tried to swat while in a Discord call with him, was also targeted for toxicity.
Oh, Gaza is kind of like me, but worse. He doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut, and he was just going off on him and calling him poor, calling him fat.
It's like you can't trash talk without getting swatted.
Exactly!
In this video, you can see Aspertaine attempting to swat Gaza in a very unique way due to him living in Canada, where it's a lot harder to get swatted.
So you are coming to the hospital with what? Oh, okay. Do you have anything against the hospital staff?
As I mentioned, Gaza was at first targeted for toxicity, but this wasn't the only reason he was targeted by Asper.
People were saying he wouldn't do it just because, like, people were calling him, so he had to show that he wasn't. Like, because people were saying that he had other people doing stuff for him, so he had to show he could do it himself.
Not only did Aspertaine target Minecraft players, he also targeted entire Minecraft staff teams as well. As you'd expect, Aspertaine's toxic behavior led to him getting banned and blacklisted on countless Minecraft servers. One of the servers that Aspertaine played on the most was an HCF server by the name of Viper MC. Before we go any further, I should disclose that from 2021 to 2022, I was affiliated with Viper as a media owner, but my role never really went beyond just uploading videos or streaming on Twitch. It was during this time that I first began hearing about Aspertaine myself, and I had some encounters with him as well when he tuned into my streams. What's up, dude? Nothing sketch, right?
Yo, can you show me your butt?
The last time I spoke to Asper before my interview with him was in March of 2022 after I deleted him on Snapchat for disrespecting my childhood dog, Katie Pup Pup. After Katie Pup had passed away, I posted about it on my Snap story, to which Asper swiped up and said, "Stupid dog." He literally said that. I never heard from Aspertaine after I deleted him, so he either never noticed or just didn't want to try me. But anyways, after being banned and to use as leverage against Viper, Aspertaine created a Discord server called Viper's Ending.
And I kid you not, it had a channel for every single staff member that was on the Viper team, like trial mod to platform admin, even the owners, I think.
Aspertaine was able to get this information utilizing a Discord bot that in many cases could return someone's full docs with just a Minecraft username.
And that bot would basically automatically dox people based on their IGN. It would just search every single leaked database related to Minecraft, and it was coded pretty well. And usually it would find people's full names, emails.
I asked Aspertaine directly about this bot during our interview, which we'll be hearing a lot more from throughout the video.
I had compiled of about like 1,500 DBs. Just a bunch of random old ones, new ones, current ones, Sage ones. Any server that I had them on, it was all in there. So it would just go directly to the data and start pulling them.
Just to show you how scary a Discord bot like this really was, I want to quickly share with you the story of Z. A few years ago, Z was just playing on an HCF server when he ran into Aspertaine in-game.
I killed someone which happened to be Aspertaine. HCF was toxic, so he just typed in chat, I'm talking, he's talking back, and he says, come into a voice chat with me. So he joined the call, and randomly he just brings out my name and my address, and at the time to me that was foreign. I had no idea that that was even possible.
Stories like this were not uncommon on HCF servers, and it really did prevent the game mode from ever expanding to something bigger. I was able to ask Aspertaine about Viper's ending, and this is what he said about it looking back.
The Viper stuff, it is what it is, you know what I mean? At the time I wasn't thinking about the consequences, I was just thinking about, what I wanted right then and there, I really just wanted an unblacklist to play a server with all the homies, so, I had to do what I had to do.
I was also able to acquire audio of an interaction between Aspertaine and Viper staff on the day these doxes were set to be released.
Everything was planned to go public here in about, by 6 p.m. my time. I'm not gonna really care about, if you guys report me to the FBI. The FBI already knows my name because I go around f***ing kids up, but there's no info on me, so.
The doxes in the Discord never ended up getting released because Viper ended up caving to Aspertaine and unblacklisted him.
I think we did unblacklist him at one point, and we just let him play under the agreement that he wouldn't threaten any more players or staff members. The only way to really stop it was to just let the guy play.
Shortly after getting unblacklisted, Aspertaine heard that some staff members were open to abusing for players, and he realized he could offer them money in exchange for this.
So we ended up paying an admin, I think it was a mod at the time, a bit of money every month just to abuse for him. Aspertaine was in my faction at the time. It was fun. We would get some pretty good benefits.
While speaking with a former Viper staff member, I was really surprised to find out that Aspertaine also worked with them at times to basically rat out cheaters on the server.
I'd be like, hey, I screenshot this guy, didn't find anything. Could you do this for me? And then maybe I'll talk to the Viper head staff about getting you something,
As opposed to another server we'll discuss more in depth in a moment, there were at least some limits on what money could buy you on Viper.
Sage has always been a server that was money hungry. I'm sure Viper would never give Aspertaine admin, no matter for how much money they offered or he offered them.
But there is one HCF server where money could buy you anything you wanted. And oh my gosh, you're not gonna believe how this went down. Shortly into my research for this video, I was told that Aspertaine had purchased staff on a Minecraft HCF server called SagePvP.
He bought admin on Sage and would just do whatever he wants because obviously he paid the owner. Aspertaine would just have his fun as admin, so it came with a whole bunch of permissions.
Now, SagePvP was always seen as somewhat of a joke in the HCF community because they were well known to spoof their player count, scam their partners, and have very questionable people on staff. I was obviously very interested in this story, however, so I began reaching out to various people from Sage. The first person I reached out to is a former co-owner of Sage and the main manager of the server for over 6 years, Calvin. Considering the context, I took Calvin's initial response, which you can see here, as a little odd. And when I asked a follow-up, Calvin claimed he was in no position to speak on Aspertaine's life and asked me who told me that he knew him. At this point, I began to get a little suspicious of Calvin and told him I really was just curious about learning about Aspertaine's time on Sage and even offered to do the interview anonymously. After Calvin again declined, I thought this would be the last time I heard from him, but he actually ended up reaching out again a couple of weeks later, which led to this call. So why are you continuing to lie about things?
What did I lie about?
Before we get to that call, however, and trust me, it is worth the wait, I need to tell you what led to it, which was a conversation I had with the other owner of Sage, Jacob. When I reached out to Jacob, he told me that he would speak to me, but that he wasn't sure I'd hear what I was looking for. When I followed up on this, Jacob told me that nobody at Sage had any relationship with Asper and that he was never staff on the server. What Jacob and Calvin didn't know, however, was that I had already spoken to Aspertaine directly about this story and confirmed it with him. I guess you bought staff on Sage? What was that about?
Yeah. Bro, that was so fun.
This blatant lie obviously confirmed my original suspicions from Calvin, and I went on to try and play dumb to get Jacob on a call. While I waited for Jacob's response, I reached out to a manager from SagePvP by the name of Irish Magic. After Irish Magic responded to me, I now had a third SagePvP staff member who was being super shady to me. I really don't know the full story on Irish Magic, but I do know he's friends with Aspertaine on Steam, which is a little interesting. By the way, this is just a side note, but is anyone surprised Aspertaine has multiple game bans on record? A few hours later, Irish Magic asked me to link him the video when it comes out. So if somebody could do that for me, I'd appreciate it, cause bro, I just checked my schedule and time-wise, I can't, G, sorry. Anyways, after it was clear that everyone at Sage was gonna be shady and Jacob wasn't going to get back to me, I decided to send him a little voice message to have some fun.
But I just have to say, I don't know how stupid you thought I was, bruh, but I'm definitely not as stupid as you.
After I sent this message, things really started to get interesting. Jacob went on not only to tell me to F off, he again claimed that Aspertaine was never staff on the server. He also claimed that I was just making this story up for views and added in a new twist to the story, claiming that Aspertaine blackmailed head staff members who gave him a rank temporarily. At this point, I was just dying of laughter, and I responded to Jacob saying to keep digging a bigger hole for himself. Within hours of this interaction with Jacob, I began getting messages from Calvin after I hadn't spoke to him in weeks. Just after 10 p.m. on a Friday night, Calvin messaged me 6 times, called me, sent me a Twitter DM, and told me I had 20 minutes to reply or he would not comment. I truly couldn't do anything but laugh in this situation because who does this guy think he is messaging me this at 10 p.m. on a Friday night? After I screenshotted Calvin's messages without actually opening them on Telegram, I went to bed planning to message him the next morning. Now, when I woke up, I saw that Calvin had deleted and edited all of his messages, leaving only these 2. After a brief conversation with Calvin, in which I obviously didn't mention I had the messages from last night, he agreed to hop on a call with me later that day. Once on the call, Calvin told me he'd been hearing a lot of rumors and just wanted to clear the air.
I've heard like so many rumors. It's better that you just hear like what actually happened.
On the call, Calvin admitted that Aspertaine was staff on Sage and claimed that Jacob just forgot, I guess?
No, he knew he was staff. That was the problem. That's what I wanted to clear up is Jacob didn't mean to lie to you, but Jacob was there when he got staff. Well, okay, I don't know if it was when he got staff or after, but Jacob was there at some point. Like, he knew. And then I thought he didn't remember. Well, I thought he remembered originally.
Now, I don't know about you, but let me know in the comments if you have any idea what that meant. But as the call continued, Calvin claimed while Aspertaine did have staff, he did not actually buy it.
No, he didn't buy it. I gave it to him, but he didn't buy it.
He did buy it or didn't?
Did not. I told you, he did not pay me a cent. I did not sell him staff.
After getting Calvin to say this 5 times, I really had no other choice but to do him like this.
I mean, I'll tell you, man, like I said, I appreciate you hopping on this call with me, but I do know you've just lied to me 100%. So why are you continuing to lie about things?
What did I lie about?
About selling Asper staff?
I didn't sell him. He didn't pay for nothing. He got that completely free.
Up until this point, Calvin had no idea that I'd already spoken to Aspertaine on the phone, but he was about to find out.
So yeah, just listen to this clip, man. I don't think you'll expect this, but I mean, I don't think there's much debate here, bro. Anything about your time, like when you were staff on Sage? I guess you bought staff on Sage? What was that about?
Yeah. Bro, that was so fun. I don't know, I was just f***ing around. Calvin and Jacob said it was okay, so, I sent them $500 and they just gave it to me.
Can you pause it?
And sometimes I was just...
Yeah, he said he paid for it?
Yeah, so I mean, why do you think he's saying that if that didn't happen?
He didn't pay me.
I mean, he names you, bro. Like,
no, dude, I totally get it, but I think it's unfair for you to call me out on that. I told you he did not pay me a cent. I didn't know he paid for it at all.
Now, the real reason Sage was being so shady about this is because Aspertaine was actually not the only person they sold staff to. In the next chapter, we're going to talk a lot more about Aspertaine's involvement in sim swapping, but what I found was Asper was just one of many sim swappers who SagePvP worked with directly. Not only would Sage sell staff to sim swappers, which led to videos like this, They also would work with sim swappers to target their enemies and even competing HCF servers. I was able to speak with Sheepkiller, a former owner of an HCF server known as SagePvP, whose docs was posted online by Aspertaine at the request of Sage. In Sheepkiller's docs, you can see multiple references to SagePvP and also a mention of him having an ego, which sounds exactly like Aspertaine. Asper then swatted Sheepkiller on multiple occasions, and after speaking with another owner at Cave, I can confirm they too were targeted.
I don't know if he did it or one of his friends. All I know is there was a guy that swatted me that he was friends with, and I don't know why. I never actually found out why. Maybe it was to do with him. I don't know.
Players were even extorted by staff members for unbans, and when others were publicly doxxed in the official Sage Discord server, nobody really cared.
This guy is literally doxing you
Womp
to the
womp.
mod.
Womp womp.
Jacob, man, all I have to say, RIP Sage. One aspect of Aspertaine's life we've yet to touch on is his involvement in sim swapping and his links to the cyber gang, ACG. I'll keep this super brief, but if you're unfamiliar with the process of sim swapping, it's a practice where hackers take over a victim's phone number in order to use the 2FA codes to get in their accounts. The people who hold the physical phone that receive these 2FA codes are known as holders, which is what Aspertaine started out as.
Before he was into sim swapping, he was a holder for other sim swappers. That's how he got involved in the group ACG. A holder is the person who holds the actual phone and the physical SIM card. Usually, sim swappers don't want to put that risk on themselves, obviously. That's what Aspertaine used to do for the group ACG before he actually got involved into doing the sim swaps himself.
This is a very common path for sim swappers who often start out assisting others before moving on to do it themselves.
So Aspertaine, after like maybe 2 years of holding, moved on to sim swapping himself. That's when he found he got enough money to buy or pay people to steal Remos, which are the tablets that are at the T-Mobile places.
As Aspertaine moved up the ladder into sim swapping himself, he made a lot of enemies by scamming those who worked with him.
Aspertaine, I remember when he started sim swapping himself as like the lead person, he would scam most of his holders, except for a couple that he really liked. Usually they get scammed, they never get paid out because sim swappers don't really care about them.
As I began researching for this video, I received a ton of conflicting info about Aspertaine's status in ACG and if he was ever more than a holder himself. I didn't expect to be able to speak to a member of ACG for this video, but just a couple weeks before I was set to post it, I was contacted by Liam, a prominent member of the group. Liam told me he was willing to do an interview, and I obviously was super curious to ask him about Aspertaine's status in ACG.
He's not a big part of ACG, bro. Like, people used to claim him as a member, but nah, he's not a member, bro. He did work for us, bro. That's it. We don't claim him, bro. Fuck him, bro. He's not part of ACG, bro. We don't like him. Bro, he looks like Dumbo, you know, the flying elephant with those big ears.
After doing work for ACG for some time, there was a falling out between Asper and the group.
Yeah, there was, bro. Like, before he got caught, bro, you know, he's like trying to beam us, me and my friend. But yeah, he tried to do make small money of us, like thinking we wouldn't realize. You know, if it's $1 million, if it's $1, it doesn't matter, really.
I don't know exactly what happened and I don't need to know, but apparently Aspertaine was pressed IRL in some way.
So we done some shit to him IRL before he got caught. And then he was just a wee bitch. But he could have died, bro. That's all I'm gonna say, bro. We had people kidnapped for millions, bro. We've almost got shot, bro. We've shot people's houses up, doors, windows, everything.
Liam then claimed Aspertaine was a snitch, which we'll come back to later.
He named everyone. Like, he's a snitch, bro.
Regardless of Aspertaine's actual status in ACG, his affiliation with the group got him mentioned in a lot of songs.
Aspertaine look hungry as hell, he gon' eat off my plate. Aspertaine a fat boy, he needs some more cooking. He a fast smelling, don't wanna stand next to him. Aspertaine put his ass in jail.
Along with those negative mentions, Aspertaine did get a shout out in a song commissioned by someone from ACG.
All these Minecraft nerds, yeah, they hella scared of James. James, keep that heater on him. Feel like you like to play.
As Aspertaine began to make more money from his involvement in sim swapping, he began to realize the risks associated with swatting.
Aspertaine actually, I believe he stopped swatting people after he started sim swapping because he saw the risk in it.
Aspertaine was also meeting new people in his life that tried to steer him away from some of the wilder stuff he was doing.
I mean, after he started making serious money with me and my boy, he stopped swatting. It was just the passion that he did kind of like caught up to him.
Another person who tried to get Aspertaine to get his act together is an individual named Gabriel.
Basically, he would harass server owners, right? I'm pretty sure it was SagePvP that was the server. And no, I came in contact with him, and I was just like, bro, what you're doing is like very cringe. Like you gotta kind of grow out of that. You gotta grow up.
Gabriel is someone I reached out to randomly after finding his Snapchat in a screenshot related to Aspertaine. At the time, however, I had no idea that Gabriel was actually a world-famous musician.
A song called Sassy Shooter.
I ain't a gangster, I'm a sassy shooter.
I ain't a gangster, I'm a sassy shooter. Why the f you hearing from behind the computer?
This song is fire.
So shout out Gabriel.
I have to give a huge shout out to Gabriel because he got me in contact with Jordan, the friend of Aspertaine who made my interview with him possible. Gabe even met Aspertaine in person a couple of times and gave some interesting insights about what he's like IRL.
Normal dude, like I'm talking when we linked, he had like 6 people. Like I don't know if it was an apartment or a B&B he was renting at the time, but he had like 6 people just straight chilling, like hella whips, hella like exotic ass dogs, and he was like normal. I was like, what the
Another individual who met Aspertaine in person multiple times is a YouTuber by the name of Emo. Emo definitely has the craziest story related to Aspertaine. Not only was he once SIM swapped by him, but Aspertaine also showed up at his house and family business and even his high school graduation.
But I got a notification on Telegram saying that my login code was, XYZ. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird. But out of nowhere, then I got an email saying my Snapchat password was changed. And at that point, my heart dropped. While all of this was going on, I was getting DMs on Telegram still because I was still logged in to DM Aspertaine and he will give my stuff back.
This SIM swap took place after Emo tried to distance himself from Asper. And as crazy as it sounds, all Asper wanted out of Emo was a reply.
He had full access to my crypto and decided to do nothing with it, which I 100% respect him for, because he could have SIM swapped me, ran away with all that money, and never talked to me again. And
one of the scariest encounters with Aspertaine took place when he showed up at Emo's house at 12 a.m. Once again, just to chat.
So I just started getting blown up on my phone. I was like, what the heck is this? And I'm like, what's up, bro? Like, were you spamming me? What's going on? And he said, LOL question, and then he proceeded to send a photo of my house.
While obviously this is a very terrifying experience, Aspertaine was not looking to harm Emo in any way.
I told him, I was like, yo, Emo, it's not gonna be like that, bro. I'm not trying to do nothing weird to you, I'm trying to be cool with you, homie. Like, all right, bet.
Asper and Emo went on to meet a couple more times in person, and Emo noted that he really felt Aspertaine was just looking for a friend.
I mean, like, he was extremely nice to me. Like, every encounter that I've had with Aspertaine, in the sense that he wanted my attention, has always been nice. Like, I have really nothing bad to say about him because he's never treated me bad.
Aspertaine even somehow found himself at Emo's high school graduation.
So he actually had graduated, and it was so random. I had just bought my Lamborghini Huracan. Everyone knows I have a Lamborghini. He had invited me to his birthday lunch, me and my girlfriend. So I met his mom, his dad, his sisters, his brothers, everyone, and I ate lunch with him for his graduation.
He was very, very, very nice to every single one of my family members. Treated them with respect, and he literally just slipped me $500 and said, give this to your dad. Paid for my dinner, paid for my family's dinner.
I heard many other stories like this about Aspertaine, so I decided to ask him how he'd describe himself overall.
So at the end of the day, yeah, I'm not a bad person. I'm gonna compare it to jail just so people kind of understand where I'm coming from. So in jail, it's just like you call someone a bitch, and here you gotta fight them. Those are fighting words, on the streets. I took it as like, you're disrespecting me, then, I'm gonna just on you and disrespect you, you know what I mean? Once I started getting older, and the first time the FBI raided my crib, and I kind of changed up, because I was like, yo, I need to chill out, but, I guess it didn't work out. So look at where I'm at now.
The first FBI raid Aspertaine is referring to was a result of a series of events surrounding an e-girl named Sydney, which is a really good segue into some of the most disturbing aspects of Aspertaine's past. We've already seen many examples of Aspertaine harassing people online, but one aspect we've yet to touch on is his extortion of underage girls.
Yeah, this was probably one of the most f***ed up things I've ever seen on the internet by far. I mean, there's nothing that compares to what, me at my age hearing about this and, seeing this. But there was a girl who I think was in calls with us multiple times, and Aspertaine would make herself and he would make her write her name, and he'd threaten her family. He'd say, I have your information, I'm going to SWAT you, I'm going to take everything from you, your life is going to be over if you don't do this.
Aspertaine bragged about extorting girls to make what are known as cut fan signs, something that isn't all that uncommon in the world of Doxbin. I obviously can't show these on screen, but I received 2 images of cut fan signs, one with Aspertaine's Snapchat @glitter, and another with the IRL name of Codeine, a close friend of Aspertaine's at the time. None of this was even done in secret either. Aspertaine bragged about all of it.
They were getting blackmailed with their nudes and stuff like that. Most of them were just underage. And also, there's many times where he joined my Discord server, and it will just send the invite to his Discord server, and he was like, "Hey, we're getting a underage girl on camera right now. Go join," just to disturb us.
Swat is someone who had a lot of drama with Aspertaine and even used some of his own tactics against him.
And we called her really late. We called her at like 1 a.m. At first we asked her like, yo, is this James' mom's? And she was like, yes. What is this about? And we just told her pretty much everything.
Swat also doxed Aspertaine and attempted to post it on Doxbin multiple times, only to have it removed by the former owner, KT.
That's the owner of Doxbin. So he kept saying it was his friend, and I'm pretty sure it's also the guy that kept removing like the docs that I made. He kept removing it from Doxbin.
Aspertaine was also very active in the Doxbin community, both on the site itself and the affiliated Discord server which existed a few years ago.
On Doxbin, Aspertaine had counsel, and as far as I know, he was pretty active on discord.gg/Doxbin.
Aspertaine was a Doxbin admin at one point, and he used to threaten to put everyone on there or like take people off if they paid money to him or whatnot.
Because Arion, a former owner of Doxbin, leaked the database logs a few years ago, we can confirm that Aspertaine was granted counsel on the site on 2 occasions by the former owner, KT. And just as Swat noted, we can also see Aspertaine's doxes being removed on the site almost 20 times in total. Aspertaine's status on Doxbin gave him a lot of power while extorting people online, and one of the individuals Aspertaine extorted is what eventually led to his demise. Before he was arrested in December of 2022, which we'll go into a lot more shortly, Aspertaine was raided by the FBI after an e-girl he extorted was swatted by one of his friends.
I was actually going to try to fight this case, but I kind of fucked myself over when I got raided the first time because I admitted to everything, so I'm kind of stuck here.
Aspertaine had been talking to Sydney online and eventually found out that she was underage, something Asper claims he didn't know.
I didn't count whatever she age baited me. She has a picture of my face now, I don't give a f.
As people began hearing about what happened, however, Aspertaine began extorting Sydney in an attempt to get her to backtrack her story. After Gabriel had heard what was going on, he tried to get Aspertaine to stop, but unfortunately, he didn't.
He was like threatening some e-girl, and I was like totally against it. I was like, bro, if you do that, I'm like cutting you off. Let's guard, like that's disgusting.
Gabe came around and Gabe kind of got mad at me for doing that, like trying to extort her. So he started getting mad at me, so I had to chill out.
The exact timeline is a little fuzzy, but at some point, someone linked to Aspertaine swatted Sydney, and her friends reported him, leading to Asper getting raided by the FBI. Surprisingly, and this was confirmed by multiple people, Aspertaine was tipped off to this raid and wiped his computer.
He wiped it right before he threw out his computer or something. No, someone told him, and he factory reset his PC, but someone somewhere got it to Aspertaine before it happened.
Despite wiping his computer, Aspertaine talked to the feds that day, and what he told them is what ultimately led to his demise. Aspertaine was obviously no stranger to swatting, but it wasn't until he started swatting random people purely for entertainment that things began to go downhill.
So he would log into Yahoo's looking for people who had Ring doorbells linked to their Yahoo account, and he would end up accessing those Ring doorbells and simply like swatting them over entertainment. This was completely over entertainment. He didn't know these people, never talked to them. Matter of fact, he'd probably never seen their address or their name before.
Aspertaine was by no means the first person to do this, and he actually got introduced to the concept in a Discord server.
The whole like Ring doorbell, that started in those groups. Like he only started doing it because he was in those groups.
groups. I don't even know if it was his idea. I think people in the group were doing it before him and he just like joined into it.
Aspertaine had a long history in these groups, and over time, he gained a reputation as someone who would SWAT for fun.
The terminology that we use is like SWAT bot. Usually they get paid, but Aspertaine was just the guy who used to SWAT people for fun. And he did it on tons of instances.
I came across a perfect example of a public swatting in a Discord that shows why hacking into Ring doorbells was so appealing to people like Asper.
Should I end the call now?
Say like your phone's about to die. How we know if he got swatted, bro?
In most cases, when someone's swatted, you obviously never really know what happens after the call is hung up. But at some point, somebody realized you could know what happens next.
You guys better walk away.
During a period of just 1 week in November of 2020, Aspertaine and his co-conspirators were charged with hacking into 12 Ring doorbells and swatting the owners of each of them. These swattings took place in Virginia, Texas, Florida, Alabama, Illinois, California, Georgia, Michigan, and Montana. Aspertaine even bragged about these calls, saying, "We brute force Ring doorbells and we swat them after. It's effing funny." His co-defendant, a guy by the name of Kaya Christian Nelson, aka Chum Lol, even sent Aspertaine a news article related to one of their swattings and added "LOL made the news." A few months after this, beginning in April of 2021 and ending in late June, Aspertaine made 7 separate phone calls to the Parma, Ohio Police Department in an attempt to swat and intimidate one individual named JB. As you've already seen, the contents of these calls were always insane.
And I freaked out and I shot her in the head like 8 times and beat the other guy.
Aspertaine also made multiple threats to schools, and truly, this might be the craziest part of the whole video, told the schools to instruct students to add his Snapchat account, join his Discord, and that he ran comm. This specific call is what led to Aspertaine being investigated, and obviously it didn't take long for the dots to be connected. Not only did Aspertaine give multiple doxed aliases out on the call, he also personally admitted to a student at the school he was responsible, and to put the cherry on top, during the first raid by the FBI in 2020, James told the feds his alias online was Aspertaine. I mean, Asper, it's nothing personal, G. I know you finna see this, but come on, man. Come on, man, that's crazy, bro. I was super curious to ask Aspertaine why he would risk everything he had going for him, his family, his money, a girlfriend, when the consequences obviously could lead to where he sits today.
I had slowly started declining into doing that stuff because, you know, I started thinking about what you're saying and like, damn, I have my family, I have my girlfriend I'm trying to start my family with, and, you know, I have all this money, like, why am I trying to get my door kicked in and sent to prison? And so I started slowing down. It's just, I think it's just more me being young and dumb, you know what I mean? Not thinking about the consequences.
On December 15th, 2022, James McCarty was arrested in North Carolina after being indicted on over 20 federal charges. If convicted on all counts, he was facing almost 200 years in federal prison. This is very common in federal cases, and it's why almost 99% of them are settled by plea deals. Over 2 years after his arrest, James pled guilty to 5 charges in total. 2 counts of making false statements, 2 counts of identity theft, which are related to making threats in other people's names, and 1 count of conspiracy, which is related to his assistance to Kaya Nelson in hacking into Ring doorbells. During our interview, Aspertaine wanted to make it clear he did not talk to the feds, as fellow ACG affiliate Braden Williams did.
In my plea agreement, which is posted, it would have told you if I did, you know what I mean? So, and if I would have told, you know, I would have been out already like Braden. And so I'm still here, you know what I mean, 1.5 years later, and I'm still waiting.
Despite Aspertaine's denial of being a snitch, it's a little suspicious that the feds were aware he was involved in SIM swapping, but never charged him for anything related to it. This obviously can only really mean 2 things. Either Aspertaine had insane OPSEC, or...
He's a snitch, man. We heard it from, like, proper intel, you know. You can't lie to that, bro. Like, documents and...
On June 17, 2024, Aspertaine was sentenced to 84 months in prison, the maximum sentence under his plea deal. With time served, Asper will be released in about 5.5 years and will then serve 36 months of supervised release. During that 36-month period, Aspartaine will be prohibited from accessing the internet without prior consent, and all electronic devices must have monitoring software installed. I wanted to give Aspartaine the opportunity to end this video by speaking directly to everyone who watched it. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you so much. This video took me over 3 months to make, and here's Aspartaine in his own words.
I'll just kind of say how I feel so far since I've been here, you know what I mean? And I mean, at the end of the day, I understand what I did was wrong, but do I really regret it? Not really. You know what I mean? I've lived my life as I've lived it. You know, I'm still going to keep living my life when I get out. You know, obviously I still have all my money. It might not be a lot, but it's still, you know, a good amount for any normal person. And so, you know, I still have the car, so I'm not worried, but, you know, I mean, I don't wish this upon anyone, you know. Prison and jail's not for anyone normal, you know what I mean? Like, but the other thing I'd also like to say is, you know, just keep your homies closer, you know, and keep your enemies away, like, you know what I mean? And don't turn on your homie over something small. And so just keep it 100, and you guys will make it through.
Listening to 2 phones, trying not to cry. Is this really goodbye? 'Cause none of this feels right. It's tearing me to pieces.